Hello again. This is going to be SKT versus Samsung Galaxy Game 3, the 2017 Summer Playoffs for the LCK. So let's go ahead and let's dive right in. Video starts with a couple bans already taken place, so let's go ahead and look at them. We see the Gallia. The Gallia has been banned in all of the games in this series so far. Gallia being a really strong pick. We saw SKT use it against Africa due to the map pressure that it provides, and just being a super tank is really good for the carries. It offers way too much CC. Then you see the Orianna come out, and Orianna we already talked about being that S tier mid laner that can offer way too much to a team fight when played correctly, and even has a pretty decent laning phase. So at the beginning of this video, we also see that SKT has a Rakan ban, and they'd been banning Rakan both games before as well.
This series, not to say that blue set has truly had much importance in the series.
Fix that. I think this is the first game. No, never mind. So SKT bans the Cassiopeia. It's a Cassiopeia. This is patch 7.15, so this is before the nerf. Offers that strong laning phase, and offers an extremely quick Baron. And then we see the Caitlyn ban, and Kate is that ADC that just wins lane, regardless of what the matchup is. And that's why we see that banned. So go ahead and get this ad out of the way. SKT taking their time in their final ban. Probably going to be Zac. Yep. Okay. SKT was able to use Zac in one of these games, and he Peanut just took over with it. Zac just really the strongest champion in the game. Needs to be taken out. So let's talk about what isn't banned right now. Just to mention, you see the Elise, Rek'Sai. What else is not banned? Braum. No top laners are banned, so that you see Renekton. You see Kled. I mean, Jace is open, but I don't think that Jace is very popular in the current LCK meta. But we see a lock-in of Alistar first pick, which doesn't really make sense to me because other champions that are open as well, Gragas, Maokai, these just seem to be a lot stronger to me, because what this is telling me is that they banned Caitlyn, and they want to be able to engage on the bot lane, and they're going to be looking for dives bot lane with the jungler. But they're also going to want Elise for that, or Lee Sin, because they're going to want the damage and the mobility. So SKT, I see your Alistar. I'm going to respond with, this is Gragas. This could be a flex pick. This is most likely jungle Gragas. It's most likely going to be given to Peanut. I give it an 80-20, and they go ahead and they pick up the Callista. And this Callista is really nice because it offers so much mobility and so much utility at the same time. So Samsung says, okay, you left Tristana open. We're going to go ahead and take that again. Samsung has played Tristana, and this is going to be all 3 games so far. And it doesn't look like there's a game 4, so sorry to spoil it, but YouTube isn't showing up a game 4, but I haven't seen any of the games until I do the VOD review itself, because I feel like that's proper. But they pick up the Tristana again. They say, we want to accelerate the laning phase. Okay, So then they go ahead and lock in the Maokai, and Maokai is flex. Maokai can be going into the top lane or the jungle. Probably, you know what, I can't really say whether or not it's going to be top or jungle yet because you don't see any matchup. Because you only see another flex pick, so you don't know if you want to match that, and you don't even know if that's going to be on the top lane or the jungle. So until SKT is a little bit more clear on what they're doing, it's hard to say. But they go ahead and they pick Lucian, and they remember they used Lucian in game 1 against Orianna. And remember that Faker on Lucian got 2 solo kills. So this is a champion that he understands a lot more than Crown understands. So regardless of whatever Crown picks, Faker might have the edge in the lane just because he understands it more. And they go ahead and they ban Camille. So they're going to be banning top laners. Which is fine. The Camille is really strong. Ever since the patch 7.13 buff where her Q went from 180% to 200% on the second proc, and this is the second proc, she got really, really strong and became such a late game monster. Samsung respond with the Morgana. This is going to prevent picking Morgana for Alistar and Maokai, and it's going to prevent the anti-lockdown that she offers with Spell Shield. SKT ban Gnar. They say, we don't want you having that strong, engaged, late-game team fight monster, that Gnar. It's going to be taken down. And then Samsung says, we don't want you to have Taric, because we want to be able to kill you. We don't want Tarik's ult being that useful. As SKT did use Taric last game, I believe. I did the VOD review yesterday. So they're definitely comfortable with it. We see a hover of Rumble. Now this is really interesting because this is post Rumble nerf. So Rumble's laning phase is not as strong as it used to be, but he can still be a bully. And they banned the matchups that he really doesn't like. But Cho'Gath is still on the table too. And there are definitely other picks that we don't get to see a lot that could appear in the top lane. Samsung Galaxy hovered Jarvan for a second, which would move Maokai into the top lane, but instead they go ahead and they lock in the Taliyah. They're a lot more sure about that. And Taliyah with wait, was it? This is where, oh no, he played, wait, was it Lucian versus Taliyah or was it Lucian versus Orianna? No, this was game, alright, sorry, I made a mistake. In game 1, it was Faker Lucian versus Crown Taliyah. And why I talked about that matchup a lot was because Taliyah has a non-combat ultimate, which is how Faker got the solo kill at level 6, and he got the solo kill with the culling. That's what happened, and I apologize for making the mistake before. And then we're going to see Samsung lock in the Kennen top lane. So this is going to be a Maokai jungle, or, well, they're hovering it. Let me just see what, are they sure about that? I might have even recommended the Jarvan and putting Maokai top lane, because Maokai, while he would get bullied by Rumble, he would at least offer a second super tank to the team. And in the top lane, where Rumble isn't going to be able to bully him after he gets Spectre's Cowl. And then J4 would have a faster clear time in the jungle and easier ganks, as the J4 EQ combo is a little bit longer range than Maokai's W, which is his primary engage. So it definitely, J4 is a little bit stronger in the jungle. But Maokai, when in the jungle, is able to farm safely. He can get past that early game, in which maybe they didn't want Crown, or they didn't want Maokai, QV on Maokai to play against the Rumble because they were afraid that he would get behind early. So we see SKT is last pick, and it is patch 7.15. So this is post Shogoth nerf on this E from 4% to 3%, but Shogoth is still on the table, and Shogoth could go top lane, or no, Shogoth could go jungle. What am I saying? What am I saying? No, they haven't picked support. Oh my god, I must be tired. You have mid, ADC, top, jungle. I was like having a serious problem there for a second. Support. Well, let's take a look. You have Kennen, you have Tristana. Braum is on the table. That would be really strong. But then again, Rakan's banned. Morgana's banned. I don't know what I'd recommend for support here, because I really want a tank support, but Alistar's taken away, Rakan's banned, Tariq's banned, Tahm Kench. Trundle's up. So Trundle support is up. So that's an option. I don't think Tahm Kench is a bad pick. Okay. That's fine. This also gives them lots of mobility. With the Tahm ultimate. It also gives them a pretty comfortable laning phase. Tahm Kench is pretty comfortable in the laning phase. So let's look at the lane by lane matchups. Because that is what's going to tell us a lot about this game. So we see Rumble versus Kennen. And to my knowledge, Kennen is greater than Rumble in the sense that he will win that lane. And this is really just because Kennen has the range. He just has the range that Rumble does not. So, although Rumble does have really high damage, so if Gragas is able to put pressure on top lane, he can swing it. So this is a one lane for Kennen, but is swingable. So it's not hard one. It's not a free lane, and there's not a lot of those in League of Legends. But so then you have Talia versus Lucian. So we talked extensively about this in game 1. So for an extensive explanation of how Lucian versus Talia works, go watch game 1 if you haven't already. It's Talia wins before level 6 and Lucian wins after level 6. And Talia doesn't hard win before level 6 and Lucian doesn't hard win after. Or well, Lucian, I think Lucian might hard win after level 6, but there is a point in the mid game where Talia will eventually have enough damage to be able to topple the Lucian if Lucian makes a hard positioning mistake. But it's very unlikely that Lucian makes that mistake because of Lucian's E. So for most of the game, Lucian wins. And then you look at the bot lane, you see Trist, Ali versus Kalista, Tahm. Now this is really interesting because I don't get to see a lot of Tahm Kench. I haven't seen a lot of Tahm Kench since earlier in my split. Earlier in the season, I remember using him a lot with my team. and we used him as a good cheeser. He's great at cheese, and he's great at forcing because of his the slow, the stun that he is able to have if an enemy is going to be punished with that. So enemies can't flash away once they already have 3 procs because there's a likely chance that he's going to hit the stun. And then he's able to eat people for a lot of their health, move them around, and then he's able to save teammates. That's a really, really good thing to have. And then he also has the mobility, again, with his ultimate. So Kalista Tom, they're going to... I think that Trist Ali wins the lane, but I don't think it's by much. I think it's a very, very dependent on what actually happens in the lane, who gets free damage. Because that's going to heavily sway the lane. So whoever makes more mistakes, really. But it's slightly in favor of Triss, just because if Kalista or Tom have to back, Triss is going to get free damage on turret. And if Tristana gets free damage on turret, she's going to be forcing and putting pressure on that first blood tower that we all know is really powerful. So one last thing is jungle pathing. Maokai is going to have some slow jungle pathing compared to Gragas. Gragas is a little faster. But we can see that I think Peanut's going to go Wraiths, red. No. I think he wants to swing top lane. I think he wants to swing top. And I think to swing top or to put pressure in mid. So top mid. He's going to go Wraiths, blue, Gromp, Wolves, red into a lane. And he can take Scuttle then too. Scuttle top side. So I think that's going to be Peanuts. Ambition, however, I'm not too clear on. I do know that he's probably going to start Wraiths as well, but I don't know exactly what his jungle pathing will be. Or at least I don't have a recommendation. There's definitely more than one jungle path he can take. He doesn't even have to start Wraiths. But it's probably likely that he's going to want to pressure mid. So let's go ahead and move forward. That's wonderful. What a beautiful close-up of the croissant. All right, so we see 5-man spread. Nothing we haven't seen in this series already. Both teams see no reason to fight at level 1. But that's all right. Anything interesting about builds? No. Everybody's got Doran's items. We do see the Tom Kench with Amulets coin, or whatever the English name is for that. But with that, we definitely know that he's going to be getting a lot more gold than Alistar, but he's going to be sacrificing a little bit of sustain to give over to Kalista. Alright, so Maokai starts red. He's going to be getting a pretty hard leash from red, and he leaves a sapling in Wraiths. He's level 2 for Wraiths. And looks like he's going to have a lot of damage for that. So he's going red Wraiths, and Gragas actually starts blue. He does not start Wraiths, and he's going blue Gromp. He's probably going to go ahead and go to Wolves too. He might as well. And then he's going to either go to Wraiths or red, because he's going to be level 3 after that. He's going to be level 3 after Wolves. He is taking Wolves. So he can go to red or Wraiths into Scuttle Crab. And then he has pressure in both mid and top. And if he does a full clear, which he can do, he can get level 4 and actually gank top. And top's being pushed in a lot. So he's on race right now. So we don't know how far top is going to be pushed in when he actually makes it there, but we do see Kennen roaming down. He knows that that 3-minute mark is when Peanut's actually going to have some pressure, so he goes ahead and he gets a ward. But it's a ward out in the open. It's not going to be seeing the tri-bush, but it's only going to see Peanut if Peanut goes out of the tri-bush. Peanut's on his red now. We see that Maokai went from red to Wraiths to... I don't know if he went from Wolves to blue. I think he went from Wolves to blue to Gromp, and he goes for a back. And Gragas actually has the faster pathing here, because Gragas ends up doing a full clear without backing. And he's actually going to be high enough health to gank a lane. So Peanut finishing that off there. He's at a pretty good health. He doesn't have any more refillable potion points. But he goes ahead and he jumps over the wall. He's going to be going for this Scuttle Crab. He's going to be waiting out this ward that was placed in the top lane at 255. So about... oh, it actually just ran out. Remember, wards in the early game are about 60 seconds long. There's Kennen moving down. He opts for a full recall. That's really a shame. This is really a shame because there was a very high likely that Cuvée would make a mistake there. And he should have taken the red plant so that if he took the red plant, then Ambition can't use it to go top lane. And Ambition is likely to go top lane at some point, and the red plant it takes at least 5 minutes to respawn. So if Antara ever pushes up, he still has that red plant to get into the lane very quickly. Yeah, had they known that Kennen was going to move down there and look for and look to ward, they could have collapsed on him and they could have forced his flash. But they did not see it. They didn't see him move down to ward. Or I guess if they saw him move down to ward, they thought Maokai was a lot closer. But you could have observed where Maokai was by looking at his blue and Gromp both being gone, which means he'd be somewhere else on the map. Or if he was in this sector, he would probably be in this area, and he would have saw him when moving down like this. I guess Maokai could have been in that bush waiting the entire time, but it would have been very unlikely. So we see Gragas moving into the enemy jungle again on blue side, goes ahead and takes out the blue plant. Going to be taking out the red plant too. So he's denied all forms of jungle aid that Maokai gets for free, and he also has a ward. So we just saw Maokai walk by. There's the red ping on Maokai. Maokai is going to be going to his Gromp now. So Gragas is going to be returning to his Wraiths. And note that due to the difference in jungle pathing, Maokai has a Trekker's Knife, and Gragas has a Trekker's Knife and Boots. Antara goes ahead and goes into the jungle. Does he steal away? No. Ambition goes ahead and he smites it. But that's going to be the Rumble ult. And that's going to have a decent cooldown at level 1. I think it's around 80 seconds. Okay, so game getting a little quieter. We see that Crown has opted for different itemization since the first game. He's opted for Ninja Tabi, which is going to heavily sway the advantage that Faker has in this lane. But because of that, he's going to be very far away from necessary itemization. I don't know how I fucked that up there. Wolf's gonna be eating. Bang. Bang goes ahead and flashes away. Wolf doesn't mind. The re-engage. Wolf's gonna be looking to the eat, but he doesn't. It's on cooldown right now. I actually wanna go back for a minute. I wanna look at what happened in mid lane. So Peanut's standing on a pink ward, and Ambition walks right into him. Peanut gets some damage onto Ambition. Faker dodges the Crown W. Peanut was actually not in range there for the flash E, so I think he was a little impatient. Damn, it's so close. I'm honestly, this is really hard, okay? So why is this really hard for me? Well, it's really hard because Crown is heal and flash, but it would make sense to me that Peanut wouldn't mind burning his flash to burn some of Crown's summoner spells, if at least one, if not both. And I don't know if this is close enough. This is like actually pixels away from being close enough for the flashy. So I don't play Gragas all too much, so I can't say for sure if it would hit or not, since I do not know the extension of that ability in Gragas' champion model to the fine point that I would need to in order to judge whether or not Peanut should have flashed here. But what I can say is that Faker took a lot of unnecessary damage there. And because he took a lot of unnecessary damage, he's going to be missing a lot of the CS. And Talia can go ahead and push in the lane. So we see Stitch and Wraith trying to get some control in this lane. Peanut really wants his blue buff, but Ambition's going to be pushing in on it, and Faker being so low can't actually help him contest the blue buff. So if we see, this might be a smite war. Actually, Peanut blows the ultimate, but Ambition's the one who gets the blue buff. So we see a small advantage in terms given over to Samsung Galaxy. And they're going to be moving it into the bottom lane, and Tristana actually goes ahead and she dives the tower by herself. What the fuck was that? All right, look. If you're in solo queue, and someone does something like beyond stupidity, beyond the actually lowest point of trust that you had in humanity ever, give them a break, because Stitch just did it, and Stitch is an LCK player. An LCK player just made one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever seen. Like, look at this. What is he doing? You're level 6. You have no defensive stats. What are you doing diving a tower by yourself? Like, he may have actually been able to kill Bang there. Don't get me wrong, because he's got Buster Shot, and Bang has like 100 health. Don't get me wrong. He had the idea, but is it really good to have a 1-for-1 trade? Because then both lanes are getting stronger? And how much gold was actually passed over? If he got that first blood on himself, 400 goes to him. but they get 400, and they get an assist on Tom Kench. So overall, the high-risk situation benefits SKT. Because check. Dive, no dive. Chance of securing kill. Patience, and then free tower pressure if they don't dive. Chance of dying. Actually, that's not really a chance. You're like guaranteed to die. Yeah, this is just not worth. Like, there are two factors that are there are two main factors. There are obviously more factors involved. In diving, but look at what you do get if you don't dive. You get the possibility of diving later with Alistar and Ambition, or Alistar and Maokai, and they can tank the tower, or SKT ends up backing off because they're at the lower health bars and they're the lower dueling pressure, and then you get free tower pressure, and because you're Tristana, that tower is going to go down to like 25% HP by the time someone bases and gets back to it. So I don't know why this mistake happened and why Stitch managed to dive the tower there, but it should have never happened. So Ambition and Wraith are like, well, that was fucking shitty. Why'd you do that? And now we have no tower pressure. Now we have no lane pressure. And they're just farming the lane, moving out. So Callista's going to have an edge in the lane now. I mean, she's got tier 2 boots and she's got the Bilgewater. So look at this. Now, he canceled his second auto attack, and he didn't throw Buster Shot. Cause look, here's Buster Shot, and maybe he couldn't throw Buster Shot because he misjudged his mana. I don't know if he had enough mana or not. So this would be a question for Stitch, personally. Like, did you not have enough mana for Buster Shot? Were you afraid of dying? Did you not mean to go in? Did you mean to go in, get the kill, and die? What were you thinking? But really, the overall best situation is to have Bang and Peanut and Wolf force the back, and then you get free pressure on First Blood Tower. Because giving Bang any gold helps sway the lane in favor of SKT. And there's one last question. Is Crown tilted? That's a real question. Because this was a hard mistake, not really something that I was expecting to see in these games, especially at the LCK playoffs level. Like maybe like low tier LCK, of course, there's some teams in LCK that make some pretty silly mistakes, but this is the playoffs. Like, this is the real play. This is what the rest of the world is supposed to be looking at for. As our mentors, as our guidance, but these mistakes are things that you would never expect to see. So Rumble's got Merc Treads, which is good because he really needs it against Kennen. That's just so strong against Kennen because Kennen's going to be trying to stun you a lot. But he's still going for Haunting Guys. And he also has a little other magic resist. I'm not really sure what he's going to be building that into. Maybe, I mean, it could be Banshee's Veil. It could be Abyssal Mask. It really shouldn't be Abyssal Mask because Abyssal Mask gives you mana. That's a wrong thing. But Spirit Visage. Oh, you know what it could be? It could be Adaptive Helm. That would be a good item. That would be a good item against Kennen for his ultimate, and that would be a good item against Talia, and that would be a good item against Maokai. Adaptive Helm. I think that's what he's building. Anything else interesting? No. I mean, Kennen's got Revolver. He's goading Haunting Guys as well. Very interesting. Ooh. Yeah, I can tell you that there is no way that Stitch is not tilted. Okay, let's look at what really happened. Because this is really interesting. So okay. So Lucian goes ahead, takes the blue plant, starts the race. Ambition's taking out a pink ward. So we see Ambition. So Talia, this is what's interesting. Talia pushes the wave, and after your minions die, you get about 1 second of vision. So in that 1 second of vision, you actually saw Talia moving up. And when you saw her moving up, it actually scripted the roam top. And because because Maokai was in the jungle already, you'd have to assume that if she's moving anywhere close to the top bush, then they're going to be moving top, and they want to go for a dive top. So this was definitely scripted, and that's how Antara saw it. Or even if Antara didn't see it himself, Faker or Peanut saw it, and it was called out in comms. Now, however, there was no vision in the red side jungle for Samsung Galaxy, so Lucian getting some pressure on the race, then Gragas going to steal the race, and Gragas moving down towards the bot lane is all unseen. And it could be guessed. You could guess that Gragas is in the red side jungle because Maokai is in the red side jungle, because it's very often that junglers end up paralleling each other. Just because of the level of play that we're looking at, it's when they parallel the map, it creates a very nice imbalance. And that imbalance allows for good things to happen sometimes. However, SKT was managed to see the imbalance that was being created top lane, and Samsung was very late to see the imbalance that was created bot lane, and they ended up actually moving towards the Gragas, Stitch being out of position, Wraith engaged onto the Gragas. SKT realizes that this is happening, and they have the bot lane moving in. Tom Kench even has ultimate, so even if Stitch were to finish the jump away, I mean they could dive, but there's no reason for them to dive because they can get first blood tower here. But Stitch manages to actually fuck up his jump. And how that happens is, so he's here. So right now, Stitch is safe. And let's pause. Let's play. Now Stitch is unsafe. Now Stitch is unsafe. So let's talk about here. All the time Stitch is safe versus Stitch is unsafe. All right. So Stitch is safe, 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 unsafe, unsafe, safe, safe, unsafe, unsafe, jumps and messes up. So SKT goes ahead and they get another kill, and they're going to have first blood tower pressure because the roam was scripted top. Talia had to return to the mid lane because the top lane dive was not going to be successful. And because it's not successful, Talia has to move back to the mid lane and defend the mid lane turret. But because there was an imbalance going on, Gragas' successful gank in the bottom lane, a successful dive in the bottom lane, so to say, behind enemy lines, leads to SKT getting a first blood tower. And so SKT is going to be in the lead a lot. Faker dropping the ult on the crown, trying to get him out of lane. Who's winning lane matchups? Gragas and Tom Kench looking for something cheesy in the mid lane. Talia's playing on the top side of the map. That's really weird. I'm really shocked that SKT didn't go for tower here. And I'm actually curious as to why they did that. But let's try and figure it out. So SKT has a 2-0 lead on Kalista, and it also is a 20 CS lead. And one of those kills is first blood. So we know we have 700 plus 20 CS. And so that's going to be 400. So you know that Kalista has about 1,100 gold lead. And you could put the first blood tower on Kalista and then rotate Kalista top lane, and then you'd start pressuring the top lane tower and Rift Herald. Or you opt to not take first blood tower so that Tristana and Alistar return to lane, and then Tom Kench and Kalista return to lane, and then you're going to end up forcing more plays bottom lane. And I think this could be a smart tactic because if I can tell that, if I personally can identify Crown is tilted, not Crown, who the fuck am I talking about? Stitch is tilted. Then so can SKT. And if they don't take first blood tower and they choose to continue the laning phase and Peanut can continue to put pressure in the bot lane, then they can continue to further tilt Stitch and further put behind Stitch. And that is probably what SKT is thinking. Faker should be backing soon for his Blade of the Ruin King, which is where he'll start winning the mid lane pretty hard. Oh my god. Really? He can't finish Blade of the Ruin King? I thought he had more gold than that. My mistake. Cause he's about 1,200 gold off. So look at what Bang is doing. Bang is actually positioning far forward. They know they can win a fight, and they're just constantly trying to abuse Stitch and saying, Stitch, you're not going to get the CS until I let you have it. Yeah, they're really trying to abuse Stitch. Faker moves down. This is the second. This is one of the perks of having a second ADC. Is a really high objective control. Because most standard mages offer burst, and burst is nice, but burst often comes with long cooldowns, or high mana costs. So along with that, you know that with that objective control, Lucian can come down and do Dragon. And Lucian can also have more pressure on the mid lane tower. And we see some mages have objective control. Notably, Cassiopeia. But they don't have tower control. What am I saying? Holy shit. Objective control. So Cassiopeia has neutral objective control. And someone like Ziggs has tower control. Tower pushing potential. So there are mages that do fit the bill and have these perks, but it's a lot rarer in the mage role. So sending Lucian mid, having a second ADC, having a second DPS is very high. And Lucian isn't just a DPS carry. He does offer quite a bit of burst. Gragas coming down to the bottom lane, looking like they're going to be looking for a dive. Stitch and Wraith are moving back a little bit. They're waiting for the Talia to be coming in. The Alistar goes ahead and engages, tries to get damage off. There's the Gragas E and the ultimate. Ultimate does not hit the mark that it wants to. Maokai is going to be roaming down, and Gragas is just going to be moving back up towards his blue. Going to pass off that blue to Lucian. They were looking for a play. They were not able to find it. So they'll go ahead and they'll wait for their respective cooldowns, like Gragas ult, to go ahead and find another one. So Gragas is pathing right now. He just got blue buff to Lucian, so he's probably gonna go top. He's probably gonna get golems, and he might even clear his entire jungle and look for a gank top. Or he'll clear his jungle and start pathing bot again, because remember they just want to keep pressure on Stitch, because Stitch is tilted, and that's the only reason that they're doing it. Because they have other carries. The thing is SKT has 3 carries. And Samsung actually has 3 carries as well. But SKT is not prioritizing getting their other carries fed. but they are prioritizing getting Kalista fed, and they're not prioritizing not allowing 2 of the carries on Samsung to getting fed, but prioritizing that Stitch becomes less fed than he should be. So it's a very bot lane focused game, and I think it's because SKT realizes that Stitch is tilted. I think that's the only reason, because there's no reason that what was that? What the fuck was that? Faker is in so much danger there. Hold on. So Faker's lane positioning is a little weird. It's probably right here. He's moving up. He uses culling. Had Ambition been patient waiting in this bush, he could jump onto Faker. And if he gets the W on Faker, then Talia gets the combo. They can almost one hit him. And they would at least burn Faker's flash, if not both of his summoner spells. Samsung like really giving way too much respect. But also with the fact that it's way too much respect, Samsung Galaxy has no vision control. Where they need it. Because throughout the entire game, they've always had vision control in nice areas, but it's never been useful to them. Crown like face tanks the culling. Does a lot of damage to Faker, gets Faker's heal. But damn, Faker really could have died there. That could have been a start of a snowball for the Talia. Ambition might be looking for a dive here on Faker. There's the flash W, there's the ultimate, and there's the free kill. Sadly, I don't think flash was necessary if they went ahead and killed them here, but they realized that he was low, he was under the tower, and he wasn't respecting Crown. So eventually, we are going to see this bottom lane tower go down, and then you're going to see everybody rotate top, and SKT is going to have pressure on this Rift Herald just because their ADC is more fed, and it's a Kalista, and Kalista can smite the Rift Herald by herself. But I'm not really sure when SKT is going to be ready to take this first blood tower, because they had an opportunity. And they refused to use it. Which is odd. I would normally take advantages as fast as possible when they're given to me. I don't play a slow game of chess. I definitely do not. Bot lane going to be back in. Kalista gets 2 daggers on top of her Blade of the Ruin King. That's really interesting. I guess she was just poor enough so that she wasn't able to afford Zeal. Because Zeal is 500 after you get both of these, right? 400 plus 300, 700. Yeah, it's 500 gold. Stitch had a nice dodge there, but didn't really matter. Tom Kench goes ahead and he eats Kalista. Peanut taking lots of tower damage. Peanut should be able to use his... There was no reason to heal there. Peanut had passive. At least I don't think there was a reason to heal. Maybe he was gonna fucking go down to 1 health. I'm not sure. But I do not think that he was going to die. Anyway, they pass off the first blood tower to Callista, and they were able to further put behind Stitch because Stitch makes another mistake. Remember, he was in tower alone. Like if we here, let's look at it again. Let's look at how that happened. Obviously need to go back further. Okay, Stitch was recalling, but he was recalling here. He wasn't recalling here, or here, or here. He was recalling here. Obviously tilted player. Absolutely unimpressed. One more time, see if Peanut was actually going to die here. So Peanut has a 111 health, but he has his passive. And at a 1400 health, I don't know. What is the actual... Hold on. Let's look at it right now while we're on video. Like, what is the percentage healing on Gragas? Because I do not remember it off the top of my head. 6% maximum health. So he's going to be healing for 3% maximum health because he's ignited. So that's grievous wounds. And 3% of 1400 is going to be 3 times 14, which is actually not a lot. Maybe he was going to die. I don't know for sure. I think he might have lived, but it was going to be really close. But I think that if you were going to heal, you can wait to the last second. Like you can heal him when he has like 20 health. Like, hey, maybe we should heal him now because the next tick of ignite will kill him. And that would have been more more safe gameplay. Anyway, engage goes follow up on the Faker here. Faker has to flash. Faker not really playing very respectfully this game. He's not. He's lost a lot because he just doesn't respect the enemy. Did Tristana not have W? I don't know. But like, let's look at this gold lead. 2 completed items. Yet to complete 1 item, but could be completed to 1 item. Like, you're about in this case, you're slightly above 1 item, and these are 2 completed items. Like, I mean, this is abysmal. Like this lead could win the game by itself at this level of play. Like that amount of gold on an ADC above the other ADC could really just snowball into the entire game. Because that gives you way too much objective control. And your DPS is way ahead of the curve of the standard power curve. also known as the SPC. SPC. So Callista is actually, Callista's a little bit of a hyper scaling, so she looks more like that. And if this is minute 1, and this is minute 5, and this is minute 10, and you get the deal, it's 18 minutes, and instead of being here, she's like here. And this goes for a lot longer. It goes all the way up to 6 items. But she's way ahead of the curve. Completely a problem. Damage going out onto Wraith. Wow, lots of damage going out. Holy crap. It's sad when your Alistar doesn't feel tanky. Kive kind of fucking up on the CS there. Kive fucks a lot on CS. Kive fucks a lot up on CS. I'm not really sure why. Maybe he gets tilted too when things aren't going great, but like, him missing that much CS all the time bothers the fuck out of me. And like, it's not like his CS is bad, like that's good CS, but like when he's under tower, he misses a lot. So Bang and Wolf are very comfortable. Look at that damage coming out. There's nothing that Stitch and Wraith can do. They really can't even match the 2v2 lane. But they have to be top lane because they want to pressure the fact that Rift Herald's here. Because if you put Tristana, there's one thing that SSG can do. And that is, you put Tristana bottom. No, Tristana, you can't do that. She has fucking Static Shiv and she's Tristana. You see, it's really hard for Tristana to have a frozen wave. But like the ideal, and that's one thing with Tristana, when you're behind, you can't freeze the wave like here. Like if you lose your tower, you can't freeze your wave. You're always supposed to win lane and push with Tristana. So now that you're behind, you're like fucked. But what I would normally say with a normal ADC is, because SKT pushed in the wave here, you freeze that wave right here and you keep the ADC bottom lane and you send the Kennen top with the Alistar. And at least the Kennen isn't as far behind as Tristana, and Kennen will be able to still have pressure around the Rift Herald, but they can't do that. That's because they really just can't match this 2v2 lane with these two. It's just not going to work. Like, and at this point, like, you see that there's a small gold lead. It's only 2,300. Right? Actually, that is a huge gold lead. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of gold. But it's by no means in a normal game will decide the game. Many teams will throw a 2,300 gold lead. You actually saw Samsung throw a 5,000 gold lead last game, which shouldn't have happened, by the way. They should have won at that point. Because they had the ability to force the win, they just didn't know how to do it. But that's beyond the reality. That's beyond the reality of these players. And I don't know. This should win the game. And SKT gets a 3-0. This is really, really depressing for Samsung. Bang playing really comfortably, really close, getting all the damage he can. Faker going ahead and get a blue buff, and Faker's going to be rotating into the bottom lane. No. I'd assume that because Gragas was holding mid, Faker would go catch that CS, but they're missing CS and experience. And really, you can be a lot more efficient. Every team can be more efficient. with rotations and minion management. Alright, what the fuck was happening? Because... Okay, let's see this from the beginning. Because I saw it and I was like, well, none of that seems right to me. So, Peanut engages onto Cuvee. Cuvee takes a little bit of damage. Peanut's low on mana. Peanut drops the ultimate. The Talia wall comes out, leaving Peanut on the side. Rumble comes up so that he can help Peanut. And Samsung back off because they realize that they don't have enough power. This is really just a continuously depressing story for Samsung. Bang playing so aggressive that he actually ends up wasting flash because he's too aggressive. He's too far forward. He just lets Alistar engage onto him. I don't even think he had to flash there. He might have been fine. But he flashed anyway just to make sure because remember, Ambition had flash and Wraith had flash and Crown had flash and Cuvee had flash. So he flashed to make sure that no one flash engaged on him. SKT could be more dominant. But I think they choose to play safely because they want to make sure that they get the 3-0. They aren't taking anything high risk. Except for that. What the hell is happening? Wolf question mark? Everything is just so wrong. Alright, so SKT are like, okay guys, we have a 2,000 gold lead. If we engage a 5v5 fight, we can't lose. And I mean, you can understand this because Kallista's really good at team fighting, Gragas is really good at team fighting, and Rumble's really good at team fighting. And on this side, they have Maokai that's really good at team fighting, and Tristana that's really good at team fighting, and Kennen that's really good at team fighting. But the Tristana's not useful because Tristana's not fed, so essentially they only have Kennen and Maokai versus these three. And you also know that there is a lead on Lucian. Or no, there's a lead on... I think there's a lead on Crown on the CS. Not on the... Yeah, no. Crown is actually ahead of Lucian. Crown is ahead of Faker. But... part of that gold does not go in offensive stats. Part of that gold went into Ninja Tabi. So that's 500 gold. And he's about ahead 500 gold. So you could say that they're even in stats. Because while they are defensive stats, they're not protecting him from Rumble or Gragas, so they're not 100% effective. So anyway, let's look at the real engage of this fight. Peanut gets engaged on by Ambition. Talia misses the combo, so Peanut does take a little bit of damage, so there's DPS going on to them. Alistar engages onto the back line, onto Kallista, and Kallista's just trying to peel off, doing the damage that she can. And then Callista gets eaten by Tom Kench to make sure she doesn't die. Rumble goes ahead and takes out his damage onto Kennen. And while this was happening, Faker was in the back line being taken out by Crown and Stitch together. So he was 1v2 in the back line. That didn't work out well for him. Wraith re-engage. Stitch doesn't really have that high damage. There's the Rumble damage coming out. So then Peanut and Ambition are chasing, or Peanut and Antara are chasing Ambition, and then Wolf and Bang are chasing Stitch. I don't know what Wolf is doing dancing here, because Wolf's Q is on about a 4-second cooldown, and if he hits Stitch with Q, I think Stitch dies. So he danced with him and ran away and let Stitch live. So I don't know what happened there. But it's fine because SKT said, we have the lead, so force 5v5. And you know that you can win the 5v5 because mid is even. Jungle is ahead by a little bit. Jungle was ahead. And then top was even, or well, top's down about 20 CS. So it's, but he had assists. Or wait, no, I think he got all of those in that fight. He had all of those in that fight, yeah. So top lane was even, but he's good at team fighting, 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 good at team fighting. And here's where the disparity is. This is where the discrepancy is. This is far ahead, and this is almost null. And that's the difference between these two teams. So they said if we force a 5v5, we will win the fight, and if we win the fight, we can force Baron. So that's what SKT does, and that's all perfectly fine and correct. I think they could have done this earlier than now, but I think they were waiting on key power spikes. Like Callista getting a BF sword, Rumble finishing Leandri's. Honestly, no, they obviously weren't waiting on key power spikes, because if they were waiting on key power spikes, they would have just completed items. They would have just completed items with unique passives and unique actives that would help them win the fight further. So I don't know what they were waiting for. I guess they were just waiting for like the easiest opportunity, or the opportunity where Samsung engages, so they already know that Samsung's going to take the entire fight and they can get the maximum by winning the fight. But yeah. It's a good Rumble ult. Yeah, really interesting fight. So SKT has Baron, so they have a couple options now. So they have these two and this guy. And these are the main carries, right? They're the main carries. And because two of them are AD, it's likely that you would put them in separate lanes for Baron buff. So SKT can run a 3-2. They can run a 1-3-1, or they can run a 1-4. But I would not recommend the 1-4 because Rumble would be the one in the side lane, because Lucian can't really duel anyone because Lucian's not very far ahead. Lucian's waiting on a lot. But if you put it in a 1-3-1, then Lucian can at least safely push the side lane. So you would see Lucian in a side lane, Rumble in a side lane, and these three would be in one of the other lanes. So it's 1-1-3, 3-1-1, 1-3-1. It doesn't matter. you would probably put Lucian in the bottom lane here. And the other two, it wouldn't really matter. Because remember, there's no neutral objective to contest on the map right now. And there's no, this is what the base looks like for Samsung. There's no tower positional advantage to take to force, except for the fact that there's one outer tower already gone, and SKT's base is perfectly normal. Yeah, very interesting. But at this point, you see a 5,000 gold lead. So the 5,000 gold lead means either SKT has already won, or it's tipping point for SSG. Meaning, if they make one mistake at all in the future, they will not be able to win. So they put Rumble in the bot lane, and they're running the 1-1-3 that I was talking about, or the 3-1-1, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Actually, I think this is correct. I think I made a mistake when I said putting Lucian in the bottom lane, because you want to put the lowest tower pressure person in the bottom lane because it's already at an inner tower, and you want to secure the outer towers more safely because it will increase the gold lead. And if SKT increases the gold lead at all, the game will become unwinnable for Samsung. And even right now, it looks unwinnable. So I'm saying for a fact that SKT will be unable to make any mistake that will let Samsung come back if the gold lead approaches 6,000 plus. It will be then forever gone. So I apologize for making that mistake where I said Lucian will probably go bottom lane. But Lucian goes ahead and goes mid lane. The bot lane goes top lane. And Gragas is just hovering. Like, Gragas was hovering top. Now he's hovering mid. He doesn't even feel the need to be in a lane. But what he does feel the need to be is invisible. And when Gragas is invisible, he's scary. Because if you don't know where someone is, then you have to assume that they can be dangerous. So it's a little weird for me that SKT is like kind of like moving around lanes and splitting up rather than I think that they know that if they know that if Samsung tries to fight, it's very unlikely that it will turn out to be successful. So you see the gold lead is approaching 8,000 now. So the game is over. So we can go ahead and speed up the game. The Baron buff ends. There's another dragon. It's Mountain Drake. That'll just help them get a second Baron if they even want to wait that long to finish the game. There's a pause. Cube. What happened? Oh. He's got to use the bathroom. Okay. That was oh geez. Most of the time you don't see players get up to use the bathroom. Usually they'll wait for in between games. But I don't think I think Cube might realize that, oh shit, the game's over. I'm gonna get up and use the bathroom because I'm uncomfortable right now. That's pretty funny to me, but it's also pretty sad. I feel really bad for him because Cube hasn't been playing well in these games, but he also hasn't been playing badly. Like he hasn't been feeding. He hasn't been like subject to like hard ganks, and he's been trying his best, and especially when he's on Kennen, he's had these CS leads. So he's been trying really hard. So it definitely, I feel really bad for him. Anyway, SKT stacking up just to, we got to end the game eventually. And you see a 12,000 gold lead, knocking at both inhibitors. They decide not to force the second inhibitor. SKT playing safer than ever, like so safe. Like, did they not realize that they are several items ahead of, because I mean, like 12,000 gold, that's like 3 items. That's 3 entire items of stats. So SKT gets the second Baron, and now that bot lane's out, then they can run like a 4-1, or they can, and they would put 1 in mid lane, and they put 4 in this lane, and that's what you're actually seeing. You see Faker go mid, and you see everybody else go top. That's like the proper way to do it. They don't need to be proper. Like SKT can be far from proper because of the goal discrepancy, because it's so large. They don't really need to play the game methodically. They're just so strong that Samsung really can't do anything. Anyway, I guess you saw a Hail Mary engage from Samsung. Tristana really not doing any damage. Samsung really prioritized the Tristana in this series, but it just didn't work out for them. They weren't able to use Tristana correctly, and I think that was one of the biggest mistakes, because I think one game it worked out a little bit for them, but then it was against the Fizz. So she wasn't able to build full offensive, and she wasn't able to be the hyper carry that she needed to be, because it was a protect the Tristana comp. But they weren't running Shen, and they weren't running Galio, and they weren't running Lulu. So like Tristana had to build defensive, and because Tristana had to build defensive, she didn't have enough damage. And that was game 2. But definitely impressive methodical play from SKT. Definitely what I would expect from them, even though most of their split has been pretty unfortunate for them. Anyway, thank you for watching. We are going to be getting to the next playoff games whenever I can. I think it's SKT versus KT Rolster. But anyway, leave a comment. I'll do VOD reviews of any game. Just go ahead and you can tell me which game you want me to do in the comments. It can be from any region. But thanks for watching. Like, You don't have to subscribe. That's not really necessary. But stay tuned if you like my videos. So thank you.